Community can have a wide range of meanings to different people. In general, there is some sort of connection or common goal that makes a certain community. This may be racial, social, economic, religious, or maybe something else. Assisted living facilities are a deeply connected community where residents live together, dine together, and hugely rely on caregivers for help with things big or small, like medication, mobility, getting dressed, and meals. Not only that, but caregivers also share common goals of promoting independence while offering compassionate care to all residents. When this works well, a sense of belonging among the residents is created, improving their quality of life. However, there are many growing concerns within this community that can't be ignored. Assisted living facilities are currently facing many challenges in supporting quality of care due to understaffing, poor training, and improper placement of residents, which is failing to protect the safety and well being of individuals in this community. One of the biggest challenges in assisted living is understaffing. Many facilities are running with fewer caregivers than what is needed. A 1:8 ratio of staff to residents is a common guideline during the day and evening shifts, but this number can change depending on the facility. In Michigan, there is no required staffing ratio for assisted living. The problem is that even a 1:8 ratio can be too much when residents may need more complex care. In a Washington Post interview, Dr. Kenneth Kovinsky shares his mother's experience living at an AL facility, mentioning that at one point she fell and had to wait about 25 minutes for someone to help get her up. On another occasion, his mother waited for 30 minutes on the toilet as overworked staff members responded to pagers buzzing nonstop. Situations like this highlight how it's nearly impossible for caregivers to ensure every resident's safety when they are expected to juggle multiple responsibilities at once. Furthermore, a study from 2024 found that 63% of assisted living facilities are experiencing a staff shortage, while 87% report difficulties in hiring more staff. These low staffing levels increase burnout, which makes caregivers want to quit, creating an endless cycle that puts both residents and remaining staff at risk. In many of these facilities, residents' health progressively worsens to the point where they should be transitioned into memory care units or skilled nursing facilities where they could receive the appropriate level of care. However, this transition often does not happen, not because it isn't necessary, but because of cost-related concerns. A cost of care survey in 2024 found that the national monthly median cost of an assisted living community is $5,900 or $70,800 annually. Memory care and nursing homes are even more expensive at around $95,000 annually. Many families simply cannot afford the significantly higher expenses associated with intensive care, and assisted living facilities may delay or avoid recommending this move to avoid losing residents. This puts both caregivers and residents in extremely difficult positions. Caregivers may be left to manage conditions that exceed their training or the facility's resources, while residents may suffer from a lack of adequate supervision and medical attention. The result is a system that prioritizes financial convenience over the health and safety of those most in need. This issue should matter to everyone, since many of us will either rely on these services ourselves someday or have loved ones that do. If the problem continues to go unaddressed, we risk seeing a rise in elder neglect, more families losing trust in these facilities, and severely overworked caregivers. One of the most effective ways to improve the quality of care in assisted living is by requiring standardized and ongoing training for all caregivers. Caregivers in AL facilities receive about 12 hours total of onboarding training, with minimum time spent on hands-on learning with medical equipment and patient care training mannequins, which often doesn't prepare individuals to care for more complex situations. Helen Kales, chair of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences, mentions that the better trained staff are, the more likely they are to provide high-quality care to residents, and the less likely they are to feel frustrated and burnt out. This will lower turnover and create a more experienced, confident team able to manage a greater number of residents, potentially improving health outcomes for them. Some worry taking caregivers away from training will reduce the time spent with residents. In facilities that are already short-staffed, it is sought to make the caregiver's job more stressful. While this is a valid concern, it overlooks the long-term benefits. Training can be broken down into shorter sessions more often and done with a mix of paid in-person and online sessions. Having well-trained staff can prevent bigger problems later, improve the quality of care, and prevent caregivers from quitting or getting fired. To improve the quality of care in assisted living, it's essential to make sure residents are placed in the right type of care as their needs change. Many residents enter assisted living while still fairly independent, but over time, serious conditions like advanced dementia, Parkinson's disease, and major mobility issues may worsen, going beyond what assisted living staff are trained or equipped to handle. When residents remain in settings that no longer meet their needs, the risk increase. Falls, missed medications, poor nutrition, and untreated mental health conditions can all result. Ensuring residents are in the appropriate facilities will help protect the overall well-being of assisted living communities. One major obstacle to proper placement is the emotional impact. Transferring a loved one to another facility can be heartbreaking, and many families fear that the change will worsen existing conditions and mental health. In many cases, residents don't want to leave their familiar surroundings and peers, especially after forming bonds with staff and other residents. Another major factor is cost. Memory care and nursing homes are significantly more expensive than assisted living, and insurance coverage may be limited, leaving families in a difficult position, wanting the best for their loved one, but feeling financially unprepared to make that move. However, keeping a resident in an environment that no longer meets their needs is not just unsafe, it can be a form of neglect. The longer a resident remains without the appropriate support, the more likely they are to suffer avoidable health declines. By communicating with empathy and planning for a safe transition, families can feel reassured that transitions are not about giving up on the resident, but instead about ensuring a better well-being and quality of life for their loved one. Numerous problems in assisted living are being ignored, putting both residents and caregivers at risk. Understaffing, poor training, and keeping residents in the wrong level of care are not small issues. They affect people's daily lives and long-term well-being. But that doesn't mean nothing can change. Giving caregivers the right training and making sure residents are moved when their needs change is a good place to start. These changes won't fix everything overnight, but they will make care safer and more consistent. They will also help caregivers feel more supported and less burnt out. Everyone deserves to feel safe and respected where they live and work. When we start making these changes, we give the community a better future.